Hey there, everybody! Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast 2024, baby! This is the board game guru and game master extraordinaire coming at you live.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Box and also Fresh Out the Podcast. That's when we're doing podcast business. Like right now, we talk about movies, video games, streaming shows. If you're more into tabletop role-playing stuff, if you want to see me and Jahan play pretend with our friends, we do that. That's twitch.tv/Jahananon. That's Fresh Out the Box on YouTube. You should check us out. We're people. We do stuff.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind of the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and this is episode 115 of Fresh Out the Podcast. And as you said, Gary, we've got a lot of business to discuss. We actually have another jam-packed episode. Last week we went through our top threes of the year, our top 3 movies, TV shows, and games of 2023. And this year on on the list, we have our most anticipated movies, TV, and games of 2024.
Hell yeah.
So it'll be a very, very similar format to last week, although this is looking ahead at the future instead of looking back at the past. But before we get into that, there actually was a lot of news that dropped today that I just kind of wanted to talk about over here next to our hypothetical, theoretical water cooler, however you want to describe it. First off, we are the Xbox boys on this podcast. Admittedly so, self-proclaimed. And
I am so much the Xbox boy that when I looked at upcoming games this year, the ones that weren't coming out for Xbox, I didn't even consider as an option for my top 3.
Well, they did announce that there will be the first Xbox Direct of 2024 set for next week on January 18th. And I only bring this up because they are announcing that they will be showing off for the first time, like really showing off, not just teaser, the Indiana Jones game that Machine Games is doing, the studio that's behind the Wolfenstein games. That's
Is that the
under
Tomb
the Bethesda
Raider
banner.
studio?
No.
That's who I thought should handle the Indiana Jones game.
No. So this is Machine Games. They did Wolfenstein.
That's fair.
It says, let's see, Developer Direct will showcase more than 10 minutes of game and developer insights, including details about the game's setting and story, how fans will actually play as Indy, additional details from his next globetrotting adventure, and the premiere of the first gameplay trailer. So they will be showing gameplay of Indiana Jones next week. I thought that was kind of exciting. They'll also be showing more from Avowed and Hellblade 2 and game called Era History Untold. So just thought that was interesting because I am genuinely pumped for whatever they're doing with Indiana Jones.
Is it Ara or is it Era? Is it Era? That makes sense.
It might be Ara. I'm not sure. I'm not even familiar with this game. This is right up y'all's alley because it's like a Civ 5 developer.
I've been following the progress of Ara for a while, so I
do remember this from their last big showcase.
I think I signed up for the alpha or the beta or something as well for that game.
Yeah.
Did they make a typo in this article? Is it supposed to be ERA, like ERA, or is it ARA?
It's ARA.
Okay, never mind. It's right here. So there's that. I thought that was worth noting because that's going to be exciting for next week. Also, we had the big Star Wars news today that Jon Favreau is directing the Mandalorian and Grogu, so there'll be a new Star Wars movie that's going into production this year.
And it's like a theaters movie, right? It's not like a knockoff Disney Plus movie. It's like a real movie.
This is a real movie, so it is called The Mandalorian and Grogu. Will go into production later this year. They shared some concept art, which it's just typical, like Mando and Grogu jumping away from an exploding ship. It looks kind of cool, but it's kind of typical from what you would see in like the credit sequences of The Mandalorian, the TV show. But yeah, so that was officially announced. It's interesting because this wasn't even part of the announcements of films that the last time they made an announcement of what movies they were doing. Like I think the 3 different movies coming out, like one's the Daisy Ridley, continuation of Rey's story. One's the Dave Filoni, like Avengers-esque coming together of all the TV shows that I think Mandalorian is supposed to be part of that too. But this is separate from all that. This is its own thing. And with it going into production later this year and knowing Favreau and how they have everything kind of established for the show, I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to turn it around quick enough that it comes out as soon as 2025. But otherwise, there wasn't supposed to be a Star Wars movie coming out in theaters until at the earliest 2026. So this could put something out there sooner. The last Star Wars movie to come out in theaters was in 2019.
I could make a fresh prediction on that. I'll go Christmas 25 on Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh, I was not prepared for the scare. You caught me off guard.
We haven't made any fresh
predictions
yet.
Document here.
And the more we make, the better it is, right? That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
This is the first fresh prediction of 2024, which is exciting.
I actually figured we would have some tonight, given the nature of our stream tonight.
Nice. Yeah, because I think some of these things could get pushed back or moved. I don't think anything on our list is going to get pulled forward.
Yeah,
Okay, and
after we did
so
this last time, and then like the reality of what happened last year, I'm like, I was looking at all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know if any of this is gonna actually come out or what.
Yeah,
I
that
think that this is a
writers.
pretty safe bet for now, Gary. I think this is a good prediction.
Yeah, let's
Maybe
the
it'll be
prediction is
2026, but I feel like this is a safe bet.
Mandalorian and Grogu comes out holiday of 2025. I think that'll be the Christmas movie. I think that'll be Jahan's birthday
I hope
movie.
so, man. That'd be a dope birthday movie.
All right,
Do you
all
have
right. So
any more fresh news today, Drew, that popped out and slapped us in the fresh face?
this is actually more, I guess, just geared towards me, but it was interesting casting news for video game related things. I don't know if y'all saw the new piece of casting for the next season of The Last of Us. Have neither of you have played The Last of Us Part 2, have you?
Nope.
There's a very, very important character in The Last of Us Part 2, which I don't think at this point it's spoiler to say this. In The Last of Us Part 2, you play as two characters. You play as Ellie and you play as Abby. Abby's the new character. And Abby has been cast officially for season 2 of The Last of Us. And it will be Caitlin Dever, who I think a lot of people know her from Booksmart, but she's been in a ton of things. You would recognize her if you saw her. Trying to think of what other mainstream things she's been in. Are y'all familiar with Caitlin Dever?
No.
I don't think so.
But I
She
did
was-
have a piece of fresh news that I forgot. I read a headline and I went to go look it up real quick. Did you see the SAG-AFTRA news with the AI for video games?
No.
did not.
They signed an agreement that will allow union members to license digital replicas of their voices for use in video games. So SAG has signed the AI deal for video games.
Okay.
Cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, times are changing, man. We're all gonna have to get used to it.
Headlines are all over the place on this one. A lot of people are excited about it. A lot of people are scared about it. IGN has a fear-mongering headline about voice actors expressing worry and confusion.
I haven't seen a single episode of the TV show Last Man Standing, the Tim Allen show that was on from 2011 until as recent as 2021. But apparently, Caitlin Dever played the youngest daughter in that show for over 6 seasons. So there you have it. Boy. Anyways,
Funny
just
bit
some
of news. My
interesting
niece,
news.
if you do the Tim Allen noise, she'll go, and it sounds like she's throwing up. It's really funny.
That was it. That was the news I had. I just thought there was like an interesting amount of new revelations out today. Most importantly, probably the Star Wars news is probably the biggest news, but I'm actually really excited for that Xbox Direct.
That was the only thing
coming
I
out
hadn't
next
heard of, and the Xbox. I didn't know they were doing a direct. Hopefully, it's good. Nintendo's are always good, but I feel like Xbox has a tendency to screw these things up. So
It just depends. I feel like it's a lot of that is on the fans getting too hyped. This isn't like their E3 presentation or, equivalent of. This is just a direct, and they've listed the 4 games they're planning to highlight. And I think if you're expecting to see anything else beyond those 4 games, you will be disappointed. And so I think fans have a tendency to still expect there's going to be that one more, but
secret
hey,
thing.
here's this total
Yeah, man,
shocker.
Fable. They still got to hit us with that Fable 4 news.
Yeah, no, I don't think Fable's coming this year. That's for sure. Fable probably not for another
that
2
would be
years.
awesome. But yeah,
Another 15 years for Fable.
it's been too
Yeah.
long. Yeah, but hey, I mean, we should probably get into it, huh? Where we
Yeah,
starting?
because we've got lots of stuff
We
we're
got
going
lots
to
of
go
stuff to go through.
through. Which we can start with our fresh movies, or I should say, most anticipated movies this week.
Most
and,
anticipated of 24.
I think the feedback we got last week was positive, and that's what we'll stick with, which is where each of us will go through and do our 3, 2, 1 most anticipated, and then after that we can go around if we have any honorable mentions, some things to shout out. We can do so, and I'm looking, and there's only there's a little bit of crossover between our lists, but we'll talk about it when we get to those. So, am I kicking off movies once again?
Yes, sir.
As
Oh,
we
yeah.
did last week.
I think no argument. You are the resident movie guy. So if we're going movies, you got to kick it off.
My number 3 most anticipated movie is Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers. If you are not familiar with Nosferatu, Nosferatu is a classic movie that was released in 1922. It is credited as the first vampire movie. It's basically based on Dracula, but it's not Dracula. Um, but they are remaking Nosferatu. Robert Eggers is making it over 100 years later, and in his hands, I have enormous faith. I love Robert Eggers and the movies he's done. Most recently, The Northman was was in my top 5 the year that it came out. I love The Lighthouse and The Witch. So Nosferatu, I'm very excited for, just based on him being attached to it. I imagine it'll be very faithful while also being interesting and scary, or I should say maybe more creepy. Bill Skarsgård is playing Count Orlok, who is typically referred to as Nosferatu, but is the titular vampire of the movie. It also has Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Willem Dafoe. So there's a good cast here. I'm really looking forward to Nosferatu in Robert Eggers' hands. So that's my number 3. My number 2 is Furiosa, which actually I think the full title is Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Which, admittedly, when George Miller, after Mad Max Fury Road, was starting to talk about one of his next projects being a Furiosa standalone movie, I thought that was an interesting choice, because while I thought Charlize as Furiosa in Fury Road was great and an awesome character, I didn't necessarily leave Fury Road saying, like, I want the Furiosa, prequel movie and
I'm with
whatnot.
you there. Yeah. 100% the movie was dope, and it was not. Charlize Theron did a great job. She didn't steal the show by any means. She was just also awesome.
And especially, like, you're making a prequel movie about that character, but not with Charlize. You're casting a younger actress, which is another bold choice. However, George Miller is one who he's very a visionary director for sure. And the Mad Max movies are his babies. He's done all of them, passion projects. So he's gonna plan out every little detail of this movie and the stunts involved. And so I can't help but have high expectations just based on Fury Road alone. So
have you
Anya
seen
Taylor-Joy,
any of the screenshots of bad guy Chris Hemsworth?
Yes, and there is a teaser for this that's out too, and the teaser looks great.
I haven't seen the teaser yet, but the bad guy Chris Hemsworth is a really good look. I'm loving that character already.
He plays Warlord Dementus, is apparently his name.
Oh boy, that's a good name.
Yeah, dude, he's the bad guy in this one.
That's dope, man. I mean, Fury Road kind of blew everyone's minds. I mean, no one expected that out of a Mad Max movie. It was amazing. It was 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
one of the best movies ever. It was so good. And
as a Warhammer 40K Orcs guy, it's the best Orcs movie ever made.
Best
and
Orcs
it's
movie
not
ever, man.
It's not supposed to be an Orcs movie.
It's definitely the best post-apocalyptic film I've seen. It's so good. And then, yeah, I mean, I'll give them leeway here. I'm going to watch it. Furiosa looks great. And it made my honorable mention. So, like, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, just it's George Miller still kicking along, doing these movies. So I just put full faith into him. And as I said, the teaser looked good. Mad Max Fury Road goes down as like one of the best movies of the 2010s, as far as I'm concerned. So if he's doing another Mad Max movie, you can expect it to be high on my most anticipated list. So that's where I'm at with Furiosa. And my number 1 is kind of an interesting pick, because this pick could either be great or it could be an absolute disaster. And it is the film Megalopolis. Are either of you familiar with Megalopolis?
No, I've been waiting all day for you to explain this to me, because I didn't look it up.
You did not look it up, you said?
Like, pointedly did not look it up, because I want you to, like, show me.
Okay, so Megalopolis is a new film from director Francis Ford Coppola, who has made little movie called The Godfather. I don't know if you've heard of it. The Godfather Part 2, Apocalypse Now, a few movies that are considered to be a little bit famous, I would say. He hasn't made a movie in quite a while. And, you know, a lot of his more recent films have not been as positively received as the classics that he is known for. He's been trying to get Megalopolis made for over a decade at this point, and he essentially has like funded most of it himself. Like he's chugging along. He's been making this movie. It stars Natalie Emmanuel, who we would know from Game of Thrones and from the Fast and Furious franchise. It also stars Adam Driver and Forrest Whitaker. And then the cast list goes on: Jon Voight, Lawrence Fishburne, Aubrey Plaza, Jason Schwartzman, Shia LaBeouf, Dustin
Everybody's
Hoffman,
in it.
Giancarlo Esposito. There's just like a insane cast here. This movie does not even have a proper release date yet, although Coppola has said that he expects it to release this year, and he said that as recent as this month. And it's being rumored that it'll be premiering at Cannes this year, which is typically in May. So we should see it this year. I have no idea if it's going to be good. It could end up being an absolute disaster, but just having him behind it and self-financing it, and with the cast involved, I can't help but be curious. I actually just got a new Francis Ford Coppola biography book that I'm planning to read here in the coming weeks in the lead up to this. But the premise for Megalopolis is: in New York, a woman, Julia Cicero, is divided between loyalties to her father, Frank, who has a classical view of society, and her architect lover, Caesar, who is more progressive and ready for the future. He wants to rebuild New York City as a utopia following a devastating disaster. And that is about all that we know, other than the long history, decades literally, of he started writing Megalopolis in the 80s. So this has been a passion project for literally almost 40 years.
The plot sounds kind of cool.
Yes.
Something terrible happens and they're trying to rebuild New York as a utopia.
Yes.
Yeah, that seems like fun.
It sounds cool. Sounds interesting. But now I understand why I haven't heard of it. So makes sense.
Right. Yeah, this is one of those that if you're, the true cinephiles out there, the Francis Ford Coppola heads, they've been waiting for this one since the 80s, and it might actually happen in 2024. I feel confident that it will happen, or else I wouldn't have put it in my top 3. I'll put it that way.
All right, let me get in here real quick with this top 3 business. Last year, Dune 2 made my list, and it didn't come out, so it makes my list again, but I'm less excited for it now, You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I do know that it's going to be great. The shots are going to be great. The acting's going to be great. I know what to expect. So it's in my number 3 spot. It's something safe that I know will be good. Let's go Dune 2. My number 2 spot, this one kind of sneaking up out of nowhere. I think this is something that me and Jahan are just going to absolutely love, and everyone else is going to be on the fence. Or, Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim. So it's an animated Lord of the Rings movie that takes place 200 years before The Hobbit. So basically, it's just getting us in the Greece, putting us in the Lord of the Rings world in a different time, in a different era. It's not connected to anything, not related to anything. It's still in the lore. It's just a deep prequel, and it's animated. I bet this is going to slap so hard. I bet this
so excited.
I bet it's going to slap so hard. This is the kind of, this year we're not getting a Spider-Verse movie, right? So there's not going to be a bunch of huge animated features that draw crowds. I think this is going to be 2024's huge animated feature, Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim. I'm going to go see it, period. It's going to happen. And my number 1 was Drew's number 2, Furiosa. Simply because I love the Mad Max world for a ton of the reasons we talked about. It's the best orc world setting. Looking through the pictures, it looks like more of the same. If you liked Mad Max Fury Road, then you'll probably like Furiosa. It looks like that's what's going on here. I could watch, spin-off Mad Max movies all day. I could watch them. I could literally watch 20 Mad Max movies. I could watch a series of Mad Max stuff as long as it's in the same style. And it will be, because luckily he's still alive for now. Like you said, kicking around, making these Mad Max movies happen. I just wish somebody would give him a fat stack of cash to make like 30 of them. Make one every year until you die. I just want an infinite amount of these Mad Max movies.
Fair. Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah, I guess I'll dive in here. So my list, man. All right. So when we did this assignment, I didn't expect a lot out of this year. I was like, last year was great. This year's probably gonna be a little slow. Man, everything's coming out, movies, TV, and games, dude. There's a lot of good stuff on the horizon.
It's totally crazy, especially with the writer's strike or whatever. I figured a lot of this would have gotten delayed and pushed back further.
I feel like some of this is the delayed stuff finally happening, maybe, and
I think this leaves a lot of room for fresh predictions, because I do think it's going to end up affecting some of the final release dates of some of these things. I just don't want to.
Very true. I don't know if any of these are going to actually happen this year. But hey, and also the thing about my movie list, man, my honorable mentions, I could put them in the 3 and 2 slots. Like, I'm very excited for all of these movies. My number 3, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. The Planet of the Apes remakes, they were better than anyone ever expected. And the last one was really good.
This pick for you, Jahan, reminds me of my number 3 of Dune 2. Because you just know it's going to be good.
Yeah,
you know what to expect. It looks good. And you know it's going to be good.
I was going to say, I picked it for the exact same reasons you picked it too. It seems like it's going to be a good time at the theater. It's going to be a big, cinematic, fun experience, and I'm going to enjoy myself. So, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, very excited. My second one...
My only hesitation with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is that Matt Reeves is not the one directing it, and he's, I think we get a lot of credit for
the most recent. Take the reins on this.
What was that?
Who took the reins on this? I know Andy Serkis is more involved than ever, but I don't know if he's directing or anything.
No, this is being directed by Wes Ball, who directed all 3 Maze Runner movies.
Oh no!
and I actually, Andy Serkis is not in this one.
What?
No way!
That's crazy.
Holy crap!
He's getting too old to mocap. Is that what's going on?
I'm not sure. I mean, unless he cameos, I'm not exactly sure if his. Actually, I'm looking through the Wikipedia page and his name's not even listed on it. So yeah, I'm not sure.
No way. This might be a question mark.
I'm still excited for it because I want to see what they do with this world, and that most recent trilogy was so great, and this does continue. Oh, it's 300 years after the events of War of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't even know how many human characters, if any, are in this movie.
No. I'm excited because, I mean, straight up, we're finally getting actual Planet of the Apes here. And it's going to be cool. I can't wait to see it. Very excited. But yeah, that's my number 3. My number 2, we already talked about Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim. I mean, do I need to say more? I grew up on the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit cartoons from like the 70s or in 80s or whatever. And like I watched them all the time, rented them from Hollywood Video. I can't believe they're making another like serious animated Lord of the Rings movie. I'm excited. It's hard for me to express how excited. I can't wait for this. I will be watching it. I'm sure I'm going to love it. My fresh prediction is I'm going to love this movie. And then my number 1, and the reason this is my number 1 is because superhero movies have not been that great. This one I feel is going to be awesome. I have a lot writing on this. Deadpool 3 is supposed to come out this year. I mean, Hugh Jackman is going to be Wolverine in the yellow suit in this movie. We're getting a lot of return characters. A lot of fan service, yes. But in the past, Deadpool hasn't steered me wrong. Deadpool 1 and 2 were both like great instant classics, hilarious, fantastic. Some of the best superhero movies out there. So Deadpool 3, I got hope. I'm most excited for this one.
I am very interested in Deadpool 3 and what all they do and how it incorporates the MCU and how it incorporates the Fox franchise and what all they're doing here. We got the teaser in the Marvels, for some things. So I'm very interested. I have a hot take here. I kind of think the Deadpool movies are mid. Personally, like I like things about them. I think that
I
they are
think you're
funny.
mid, Drew. I think
I
you're mid.
think that's fair. I think that they're. I don't want to say they're like toxic to the culture because that's. I don't think it's that. But like, just like I feel like the Deadpool movies get so much credit as being so funny, and I think that sometimes Ryan Reynolds doing the Deadpool shtick outside of the Deadpool movies can become like almost somewhat
Oh,
insufferable.
it's unbearable. Leave it in Deadpool, man. What are you doing? Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I agree
And I
completely.
think it's actually to your point, Jahan, that it's more of a Ryan Reynolds issue for me than it is a Deadpool issue. Like I shouldn't just pile
Okay.
it all on those
Now,
movies.
now you're speaking some sense. You started and I was not on the bandwagon, but now I'm coming around.
Right. So like I think I'm almost dreading the marketing push leading up to this movie, but I expect the movie itself to be fun. I guess that make a
Yeah.
little bit more sense, put it in a better light.
No.
But I'm interested in it, but I'm just nervous about the fan culture surrounding this movie come time and what its legacy will be. But this is the only MCU movie of this year.
I like Ryan Reynolds, but my hot take is that he needs to retire. He needs to go away for like 10 or 15 years and then make a comeback. He's one character now. He really phones it in most of the time. You know exactly what to expect. He was funny when we were growing up, and now he has reached the apex of his character, and he has not grown for like the past decade as an actor. He needs to go away. He needs to relax, spend all of his money with all of his rich friends and his beautiful wife and everything, and then make your comeback later, bro. But I've had enough Ryan Reynolds for now. That being said, I think Deadpool 3 is going to be awesome and a lot of fun.
I think it's going to be fucking litty, dude. I'm excited.
You also, I'm looking at our honorable mentions here. You have a Ryan Reynolds movie in your honorable mentions, Gary.
I do, and I think he's going to be like fingernails on an effing chalkboard, and I think he's going to phone it in. The movie I think it's pronounced IF.
It's called If. It's
Is
called
is
If,
it
but
called
it
If?
stands for Imaginary Friends.
It does stand for
Oh, right.
imaginary friends. It's stylized IF, so I wasn't sure. Okay, If. It's basically the plot of Foster's Imaginary Home for Kids, the cartoon show. It's imaginary friends that their kids have grown up and left them. And it's a mixed live action CG movie with Ryan Reynolds as the main character and a laundry list of well known actors voicing all these imaginary friends. And they're not like people. They're like big, purple monsters and stuff. They're really silly looking. It's on my honorable mention for the reasons we talked about. Ryan Reynolds might be phoning it in. This might not be great. It's coming out of nowhere, right? It's not based on a pre-existing thing, so there's no expectation for it. And it kind of, to me, sort of reminded me, just at first glance, of Ted, and I don't really like Ted. Didn't really like Ted 2. We'll see how this goes. I think it could pan out to be a real cult classic and be something fun and beautiful and wacky and entertaining, and it could be really silly. If might be a lot of fun, but it's on my honorable mention just because it is something that looks at least refreshing, to say the least.
And directed by John Krasinski, which I think is
Yes,
worth
that's right.
pointing out.
Yeah, that's right.
Because has he only directed the Quiet Place movies so far?
Yes,
I'm not sure.
This is his first non-Quiet Place thing, and it looks like it's going to be a pseudo comedy. So it's a whole different vibe and different feel, and that's why there's so many actors attached. I would think is because it's Krasinski's project.
Yeah, I
Also
think so.
on my honorable mention, I've got Beetlejuice 2. And this is one that I'm not going to make the fresh prediction. I'm not going to say it's not coming out this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the ones that gets pushed back. It almost has to have a Halloween release, right? And so if the writers strike had anything was able to slow it down, they need that window particularly. If it's going to be a month or two delay, they might as well delay it a whole year. But I don't know if that's the case. Beetlejuice 2, it does have Michael Keaton's, and I'm going to go see it, and we're going to talk about it on the podcast. 100% we're all going to go see it if it comes out at Halloween time.
Yeah.
And for that reason, it made my honorable mention. It's going to happen. I'm going to
So
talk about it.
It did wrap filming in November after the strike, so it's filmed at least. So it's just a matter of if it gets held up in post, but it should come out this year. Yeah, it's scheduled for September. This is on my honorable mentions too. So I'm excited for this just because I love Beetlejuice and the fact that Michael Keaton is back. Winona Ryder is also back. Catherine O'Hara is back, and then the newest addition is Jenna Ortega, who's like one of the hottest young actresses out there right now, and recently
they're just
teamed up
going to
with
be
Burton on
they're going to
Wednesday.
be cutting it up. This movie is just going to be all of them hamming it up, cutting it up, over the top, silly costumes, silly makeup, cheesy frights. I mean, I think Beetlejuice is just going to already based on a cult classic movie. Beetlejuice 2, I don't think they're going to screw it up. I think it's going to be another cult classic Michael Keaton crushes at Beetlejuice performance. And hopefully he's a lot less sexual than he was the first time around.
We'll see. I think this is also an interesting thing just from a Tim Burton standpoint, because from a film standpoint, Burton really needs a win, right? Like he worked a lot on Wednesday, and Wednesday was a huge success for Netflix, right? But his last movie was 2019's Dumbo, the live action Dumbo for Disney. And before that, you had like Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Nope.
He did Big Eyes, Frankenweenie, Dark Shadows, Alice in Wonderland. It's just like some of these movies made a lot. Like Alice in Wonderland made a ton of money. If you go back and watch that movie again, like that movie's terrible. It's really bad.
Oh yeah.
And
with Johnny Depp.
I'm not a
Mhm.
Yes, and I'm not a fan of his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and like I think people just got burdened out, so it makes sense that Burton is.
Oh, Burton got Johnny Depp out. That's what happened.
They got burdened out.
Too.
I got Helena Bonham Carter out.
Yes, that too. But yeah, so it makes sense that he's going back to one of his, most famous and beloved movies and bringing it back. So many years later, so I'm excited for Beetlejuice 2. I had it on my honorable mentions as well.
I am reserving my excitement for this one.
That's fair. Jahan, you and I also share another honorable mention. And actually,
yes, sir.
Referring to Mickey 17, I had this as my number 3. Yeah, I had this as my number 3 most anticipated, and I actually took it off right before the show because literally an hour before we started recording, Variety announced that they pulled Mickey 17 from their schedule, that it was supposed to come out in March. They pulled it from the schedule. It's officially being delayed because of strike delays. I'm not sure if it'll still come out in 2024, so that's why I went ahead and took it off my list. But they moved Godzilla X Kong up to March 29th from April in its place. So, that being said, Mickey 17 is the next film from Bong Joon-ho, whose last film,
Parasite,
a movie called Parasite, that
might have heard of
it. The highest grossing Korean film ever, or at
the
least
first ever foreign film to win Best Picture.
Yep, it's a great movie. Everybody's anticipating what Bong Joon-ho does next, teaming up with Robert Pattinson for this movie. I actually have the book. I bought it as soon as they announced that Bong Joon-ho was making it. So it's been sitting on my shelf, and as we get closer, I will read it. But
yeah, Bong Joon-ho is directing a space movie, right? With starring Robert Pattinson. That's what's going on.
It's about clones. So like Mickey 17 is in reference. The book's actually called Mickey 7. They've made it 17 for the movie, but it's in reference to the fact that Robert Pattinson plays Mickey, and in the book he's the 7th Mickey because he's considered a disposable. He's like a clone that works on a planet, and when one dies, they have a new one that goes and replaces them, and they go in numerical order.
Super excited for this one. Absolutely 100% excited.
Yeah, that seems like a real mental trip. I bet that's going to be maybe what Drew would describe as a slow burn, I think. Probably something where you're sitting in your seat really soaking up the setting for maybe the first hour before they really start to get in your brain and start twisting you up. I bet that'll be a lot of fun.
I'm excited for sure. I've been waiting for his next movie to come out, and this one was a surprise, so I'm excited to see what he has.
I haven't seen Parasite, but of course I've heard of it.
Parasite's
I
very
don't
good.
know if I.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe-
you need to check it out, Gary. It's great.
I do need to see it.
Oh, it's
Oh
fantastic.
yes.
Parasite's
Just- I-
great. You might like some of his other movies better. I mean, he also did, what else he did? He did Memories of Murder, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I think
He
I
did-
assumed Parasite was like really graphically disturbing
Nope.
and didn't watch it.
It's
Okay,
not graphically
yeah, I should
disturbing
buy
at
it.
all.
Good.
Then there's
I
also The
definitely-
Host, which is a monster movie, and then there's Snowpiercer with Chris
Oh, I've
Evans.
seen Snowpiercer.
Yeah, he did that. So
Snowpiercer goes, man.
Snowpiercer's good. Yeah, Bong Joon-ho did that movie. So
And he did a movie for Netflix called Okja about a large, like hippo dog.
yeah. I saw that too.
yeah,
Animal.
Gary saw Okja.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. I'm excited for this one. While we're talking about space, I'm excited for Alien Romulus. I didn't put it on my list because some of the Alien movies coming out aren't the best, but this one sounds pretty cool. It takes place in between Alien and Aliens, so it takes place during the period of time where Sigourney Weaver's character is in cryo sleep.
So it's like Alien. Instead of having a whole S, it's just kind of half an S. It's like a little C at the end.
Yeah, like we'll see. Alien. Yeah, there you go. And so it is. It takes place earlier. It's not a full prequel, but it takes place earlier in the timeline. So I'm excited to see what they do with that. And then my other honorable mention is Furiosa. We already talked that to death, so I'm not going to do it anymore.
I had a couple other ones that I can just go through really fast. One I had there's an untitled F1 movie that Joseph Kosinski's doing, which is he's the director of Top Gun Maverick, who obviously
That's
has a lot
John
of
Krasinski's
goodwill.
brother.
he's not. But Joseph Kosinski's doing it's literally called Untitled F1 Movie, and it stars Brad Pitt. And there's been set photos and things of this, so I'm interested to see it. But this is one I don't even know if it'll really come out this year, so I didn't want to devote more time to it than that. Gladiator 2, which is being directed by Ridley Scott, but does not have Russell Crowe in it. Instead, it's going to star Paul Mescal, who's a up-and-comer who I really like, and I'm interested to see him. But also, notably, Denzel Washington is in Gladiator 2, and I'm really excited to see that. So I just have faith in Ridley Scott. Was anybody clamoring for a Gladiator 2 that
No.
doesn't have Russell Crowe involved in any way? I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
Pedro Pascal's also in this movie, which, gets me a little bit more excited, but I'm interested more than anything. And lastly, Gary, did you have something about Gladiator 2?
No. I had one more movie. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you had one more also.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just one more. This is really quick. And again, this is more so just out of curiosity, not necessarily one that I'm itching to see that badly. Have y'all heard of Horizon, an American saga? Are you familiar with this?
No, and when I saw Horizon on your list, I was really hoping they were making a live action version of the video game series and was
Same.
like, okay. I was
They
like,
are-
this-
Robot dinosaurs. Robot dinosaurs.
They are doing that. I think for one of the streamers, though. I think it's a show for like Amazon Prime or one of them. They are making that. But no, this is a movie that is written by, directed, and produced by Kevin Costner. He's basically funding it. It is a Western.
Western.
But
Yep.
but what's most interesting about this is basically the studio's kind of bending to his will and what Costner's wanting. This is the movie of why he's no longer on Yellowstone, or won't be in the upcoming show of Yellowstone, which was like the show that was made for him, and it's the most popular show on TV. And it's because he had this passion project he wanted to make. He's basically made two movies, Horizon Part 1 and Part 2. They're releasing the first one in June, Chapter 1, and Chapter 2 in August. So literally they're releasing these two movies,
Cool.
two months apart from each other.
That's
two,
cool.
two presumably 2 hour long,
That's kinda
2
cool.
plus hour long Westerns in 2 months.
Imagine
6 weeks
if
apart.
instead that was like a Star Wars movie or something. That's actually a pretty cool idea. That's a pretty cool marketing scheme. I've always contended that there aren't enough modern westerns. I don't even like them very much, but the audience is here for it. The crowd is still there. Like a third of of our country listens to country music, so the Western people are here and they want to watch westerns. Like you said, they're watching Yellowstone. They're here.
Mhm.
I've always contended that if you just made some Western movies, you just made like 4 or 5 and they were all connected, that give it 10, 20 years, people will love them. People will be all about it. Westerns just need to age a little bit. So you have to make a series. This is really smart that he's making a series, and it's kind of a cool thing to release them 2 months apart like that. I'm really into it. I'm not super into the fact that it's a Western, and I probably won't go see these, but I do think that the idea is super cool.
Yeah, this isn't one that I would expect y'all to be going out to see. Like I said, I'm more curious about it, and how it does, more so than I'm even interested in seeing it myself. Like, will the Yellowstone audience show up in theaters for this, and then will they show up again 6 weeks later for part 2? I'm interested to see how this performs because it's an interesting experiment this summer.
Yeah, that's cool. I have one more movie. I'm not sure if anybody's excited about it. I figured it would be on somebody's list or honorable mention. The Joker Lady Gaga Part 2 version edition.
Yeah, fully ado.
Yeah, this is exactly like you said about Gladiator 2. I'm not sure anybody wanted a Joker second one. I'm not sure that DC wants it, but the performances were pretty good. Well, great in the first one. And I'm sure the performances will be great in this one too. Will it get me to the theater? Maybe. I didn't go see the first one in theaters, I don't think. But adding Lady Gaga actually it increases the chance I'll go see it. She's a great performer.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Lady Gaga aspect of it too. It's probably what I'm most excited for. The first Joker is really good, and definitely I don't think it needed a sequel, but I'm interested to see what they do here. And I actually didn't put it on my list or honorable mentions because I assumed it would also be on somebo's list, so I figured it would be brought up.
I'm just interested to see how they sequel it. I don't know, but other than that, it'll either be good or it'll suck. So I'm not.
It's almost like real
hopeful.
edge lordy to like the Joker movie or to like the spinoff. It's kind of an edgelord thing, but it was a great performance, and it's probably going to be more great performances. And that doesn't mean it has to be my favorite movie by any means, but it was. I mean, compared to the rest of the crap superhero movies that were copy paste and printed, it was not that. Let's go into some TV shows. You guys want to talk about Fresh TV?
All most anticipated TV
you kick
shows
us off on this one.
2024.
Let me kick this off, Jahan, to follow up your Alien Romulus speech. They are making an Alien TV show this year, they being Hulu. And we don't know much about it. And like you said, the alien stuff, it ranges in quality. But really I believe they have waited long enough. I think the 2000s were just a bad time for movies. It was a bad time for sequels. It was a real cash grab era, and a lot of crap came out. But I do think enough time has now passed that they realize how valuable the Alien franchise is. It, to me, is as valuable as Star Wars or Marvel.
Oh yeah.
There's a whole universe there. There are spin-offs, there are characters, there are toys and t-shirts and costumes and room for new aliens and planets, and it could go on forever. That's a cash cow. And I think they're finally on to it. I think that's why we got a new Alien video game, or two new Aliens video games pretty much back to back in these past 2 years. It's why we're getting a new movie. It's why we're getting a series. I think they realized that this is cash cow waiting to be sucked. The same way that they have bled Marvel dry, I think they will bleed Aliens dry, and it will be awesome for the next few years. I'm about this TV show.
I agree that they're going to bleed it dry. I'm hoping that it'll be awesome. Yeah, it's also on my honorable mentions. So yeah, Alien.
Very nice.
Also very excited for this show.
Let's see. There were things on my honorable mention, like you said, Jahan, where you could have switched them out for your movies. Yeah. There were things on this list. The reason that I put Alien on here is because I will literally get Hulu again for Alien show. The things on my honorable mention, I wouldn't subscribe to an app just to watch those things. That's how I figured it out at the end. Is like, what app would I just get just to watch this one thing?
Fair enough. That's a good tiebreaker. Yeah.
Which is good to follow up with Invincible 2.2. I told you Amazon could get right out of my face. And it has been right out of my face. No subscription. Get out of here. I'm not watching nothing on Amazon. Invincible 2.2, Season 2, Part 2 will be coming out February 19th, I think, or 11th, something like that. Either way, right around my
is it
birthday.
dated now? That's good. I like that.
Yes, February, right
Hell yeah, man.
mid-February. Right around my birthday, so bam, I'll be watching Invincible 2 too, and of course it'll be a weekly thing, so it'll probably stretch out through the end of March. I would think there's probably 4 more episodes. And my number one, and this is only because of my dire love for the live-action One Piece, which I've been painting miniatures again, and live-action One Piece has been on again, bro. I've been watching it again. It's my background show. I'm with it.
Yeah, Gary's all in on the One Piece lately. It's kind of
I
crazy.
really am.
It's really fun.
It's man, there's not enough pirate stuff. All you get is Johnny Depp acting like a dickhead. So it's really nice to have some new fun pirate
Pirates
stuff.
of Dark Water. No, I'm just kidding.
It also kind of fills my superhero the gap in how bad the superhero content has been. So this has been nice to fill kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. And that leads me to Avatar, and I'm hoping that's exactly what Avatar is. Right? It's Netflix. It's an anime turned live action. Hopefully, they can do some of the same stuff where Monkey D. Luffy was so fun and so lovable and so silly as a character. Hopefully, they can really draw that out of Aang and have him really be a lot of fun and a kid and goofy and the way he's supposed to be. And if they can do to Avatar what they did to One Piece, then I think Avatar is going to be phenomenal. We've seen the casting. We've seen some screenshots. I'm ready to watch the show. I'm in. I'm going to watch it. It's one of those things. If I didn't have Netflix, I would be getting Netflix just to watch it. The Avatar Last Airbender show is my number one most anticipated for this year.
Excellent. That's a good list. Avatar for me personally, my faith has been shaken, so I'll see it when it comes out. That's how I feel about it.
That's totally fair.
My number 3 most anticipated show of 2024 is the Marvel Zombies show that is supposed to be coming out. Surprise, surprise. I put zombies on my list. Marvel Zombies is a great comic series. We saw a really cool What If episode last year or the year before where there was Marvel Zombies. I play the board game. I'm all in on this. It's a cool concept. I don't know how they're going to make a show of it.
It's like a continuation of the other thing, right? The spin-off show thing isn't the same style. Yeah, right. What If? I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if it's gonna be in the same vein as that because I feel like that one ended badly. But
there's another season of What If that has just been on, and I feel like nobody has cared or is talking about it.
I haven't enjoyed the second season of What If nearly as much.
I've not heard anything good about it.
It's the first episode's good, and then I was kind of like meh. We could talk about that next week, but yeah, it's been fine. Marvel Zombies, I am excited for just because of what it is. It's things I love coming together. So boom, I'm excited for that. Fallout, the Fallout TV show. What is it on Amazon? I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
Amazon's doing a Fallout adaptation for streaming.
And Walton Goggins is the ghoul.
Walton Goggins is a ghoul in it. It looks cool. The style looks sick. They're really they're sticking with the aesthetics. Like I'm seeing people in vault suits, bright colors.
You hear what I said, Drew? Walton Goggins
is a ghoul, dog. It's pretty cool.
I'm down for that for sure.
It's like it looks like he's a deputy or something. I'm so in. The screenshots of this one look amazing, dude. The power suits look really cool.
Yeah.
And so this, Jahan, I don't know if you drew these lines. I drew these invisible lines in my head. This is coming out, right? But we have Warhammer in the future coming out from Amazon.
Yeah.
So seeing these power suits for me is almost like seeing the Mark I units of what the
seeing
Space
how
Marines
they
are
might
going to look
yeah.
like. And
That's
the
fair.
power suits look good. They look cool, man. They look like they could be Space Marines. They're on the way.
They're on the way there.
Just the screenshots of this show of Fallout have me excited for the Warhammer show in 25 or whenever the hell it's coming out.
That's funny. But yeah, no, I'm excited for that too. That'll probably be on my list next year. Fallout, yeah, super excited for this show. I've been excited. I can't wait to see it. I can't believe it's coming out this year. Like, it just kind of snuck up on me. And then another show that I didn't realize was dropping this year. Season 2 of House of the Dragon is my most anticipated show this year. Season 1 was insane. It was great. It blew me out of the water. I mean, it took us all by surprise. We didn't think it was going to be good. It was a Game of Thrones spinoff. Game of Thrones ended like shit. None of us thought this was going to be good. It took too long to come out. It didn't strike while the iron was hot. And then it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I can't wait for House of the Dragon season 2.
I do remember House of the Dragon being certified fresh for multiple weeks.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 1 most anticipated show. I hope my list survives the year.
I think your list will well, yeah, we'll see. You've got zombies in your list. Can they survive?
They can survive most things. That's fair.
All right, so on to my most anticipated TV shows. At number 3, I have Dune Prophecy, which this, I believe, was actually on my list of most anticipated shows last year, or maybe it was in my honorable mentions, but it didn't come out last year. It's going to come out this year. It's been renamed. It was previously called Dune: The Sisterhood, and now it is called Dune Prophecy, coming out on Max this year.
Oh, is it about the Bene Gesserit?
Yes, it is. Like the prequel Dune series about the Bene Gesserit. And just anything Dune, give me more of it. Yeah, I actually, not to go back to movies immediately, but Dune 2 I didn't put in my most anticipated, mainly because it was in my anticipated last year, and it got pushed because of the strikes, and I just feel like we know it's coming now in less than 2 months. I can't wait for it. I feel like it was kind of doesn't even need to be said at this point. And
it's just gonna be good, it's just gonna look like movie posters for 2 hours. It's just gonna be good.
And the other thing is we also kind of know what that's going to be. Like, it's Dune Part 2. It's a continuation of that novel. Dune Prophecy, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like. So I'm very interested in how that pans out. And the same for The Penguin, which is the Colin Farrell series where he returns to his role as the Penguin in a Max series, and I really like the Matt Reeves more of Colin Farrell's Penguin. Is this show going to be good? I don't know. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to watch it.
I also don't think it's going to be good.
Here's the secret. Here's what I want, Drew. I want a secret curveball. When that show comes out, I want it to actually halfway through, you find out it's like a Nightwing show or something. I think
that's
awesome.
Like I'm interested to see what they do too.
Awesome.
Because I agree. Like, if it's just a Penguin series, I don't know how fun that will be. But if you're slowly introducing or throwing in different Batman Rogues Gallery villains and other roles, or like, playing around in the world and using the Penguin as an excuse to do so, I think there's a lot of potential there. So I don't disagree with y'all. Like, this could be great. It also could be terrible.
There is potential there, and a crime show about Gotham City could be cool, but they did it already once, and it was not good. In my opinion. Look, so that's why I'm for those reasons I am out.
Gotham was easily like a 3 out of 10. It wasn't unwatchable.
It wasn't unwatchable, but it wasn't good.
It was just bad.
This is bad.
That's fair, but at least this is taking place in a world that has already been created successfully on screen. Like the Batman that Matt Reeves created was really well done. We know this character a little bit. But my fear is it's going to be super dark and boring, and I'm just going to get tired of like trying to squint to see anything in this dark Batman world, and how it looks in streaming on Max, and if it'll even look good. I don't know. Those are the things I'm scared of.
And that's what Dune Prophecy might be also. Dune Prophecy might just be a bunch of people whispering in the dark in space.
Remember when they built up for like 7 seasons that there was going to be this epic battle between dragons and medieval people and the undead in Game of Thrones, and then they did the fight and it was pitch black and you couldn't see anything?
I do recall.
That was cool, wasn't it? I'm not bitter.
That was terrifying.
Well, that's a perfect way to segue into my number 1, which is House of the Dragon season 2. So I'm right there with you, John, on this. I went ahead and put this as my number 1 because it's the only of these that's a known quantity. I thoroughly enjoyed the first season of House of the Dragon. way more than I ever expected to. I was just like, same as you, John. Game of Thrones ended poorly. I understand they want to capitalize on the popularity of it, and they're giving us a spin-off show. And then it was great, and I loved being part of the conversation every week. I think we mentioned that show every week on the podcast while it was airing, and I'm excited to have that kind of cultural touchstone again, where we're all talking about it, and seeing how those cliffhangers are. And yeah, I look forward to House of the Dragon season 2. I'm really looking forward to it.
Hell
It was
yeah.
an easy pick for number 1. I had some honorable mentions that lined up with I put Fallout on my honorable mentions because I do think that the images from it look fun, but it is one that I'm still wary of it. Anytime, video game adaptation for TV, we've seen this done well now with The Last of Us, but I still get a little bit nervous as to what it could be. I put The Bear here also because I don't necessarily buy that The Bear season 3 is actually coming out this year, which is why I didn't put it on my list officially. If it does come out this year, you could pretty much put it as number 1 on my list, but I don't know if it's coming out this year. And if it does, I don't know. The second season is less than a year ago it was coming out. It's super fast to turn that around. I just want to make sure they take their time to continue the quality of that show. But yeah,
I've got a couple of honorable mentions as well. First off, like you said, Fallout, and the reason for me it hit honorable mention is because, like I said, for deciding for Alien, I would rather get Hulu to watch Alien than get Amazon to watch Fallout. I think we'll see how that pans out, but that's my pick. And then Echo, of course, which coming to Disney Plus right now today. I think on January 9th. I think it actually literally came out today. More of a Deadpool story or Daredevil story, right? Hopefully we get some more Kingpin, some Wilson Fisk.
I'm hearing it's going to be really, really dark, and
yeah, it's
I'm
probably
excited.
A lot of people whispering in. Oh, you mean it in a good way? Dark like violent.
Yeah, it's gonna be gritty, dark, and like action packed. So
I thought you meant dark like the Penguin TV show.
No, it's gonna be dark like the
Prophecy.
Daredevil Netflix show, and I'm excited.
This is one of the things I think about Echo, right? It might just be a bunch of rainy alleyways and people whispering in the dark. So, maybe not great. We'll see. But I'm
all
excited.
5 episodes available now as of
there you go.
as of us recording tonight. They dropped at 8 o'clock p.m. our time, or
Oh boy,
whatever that is for you, Gary. But they are on Disney Plus now, all 5 episodes.
I'll watch
Look at
that at lunch
As of
tomorrow.
I'll watch that tonight and not sleep. And finally, an honorable mention, and this is I'm gonna call it an honorable mention. But it borderlines dishonorable mention. Umbrella Academy season 4. It is time to put Umbrella Academy to bed. I'm glad that everybody knows it. I'm glad they get to do it in a respectful way, and they get to go out on some good terms. And I think it's actually going to be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah,
it's a lot more fun than pulling the plug on a project and being stuck with questions and saying, well, that ended kind of crappy. At least they know this is it. They get to write a big ending. They get to have their final hurrah, and we all get to know it going into it. I think that's going to make it a little bit more fun to watch, and it makes it more of an event, right? We can talk about a finale together instead of just a season of a show that we sometimes watch. So I'm looking forward to it somewhat. Let's go Umbrella Academy, Echo, and Fallout for honorable mentions.
Oh yeah, my honorable mentions are pretty easy. Aliens, the TV show, was on there because it was almost on my list. And then there's a lot of superhero shows, so I put superhero shows: The Boys, Echo, Umbrella Academy, and then Invincible season 2.5. All of those honorable mentions. I'm excited for all of them, but superhero stuff, I don't know, man. Like, it's not that I'm over it. I just am tired of it being bad. So, like, I want to watch more, but you gotta give me good stuff. So we'll see how that goes. The Boys has been teetering for me a little bit. Echo could be good, could be bad. Umbrella Academy season 4 will be fun, and then the Invincible season 2.5 is going to be great. So
yeah, I hate doing this because I feel like it's kind of a jerk thing to do, but I did create a little dishonorable mention section on my own thing.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
that's dishonorable mentions. You know, Gary and I really tried to make Halo a thing. Like we watched the
Oh,
first couple episodes of
The
man.
show
that,
was
like
so
really,
bad. Oh my
and
god.
we just couldn't do it. I don't think I made it past 3 episodes of that first season. There's
Why
apparently a
was a
second season
human
coming out this
woman
year. I don't
like
plan to touch it.
allied? Why was there a human woman like allied and leading the Covenant? What the hell was that about?
Just not my thing. So it's on my dishonorable mentions. I put MCU stuff on here too, and Star Wars. And I hate to be this way, but it's like I just wasn't that big on Ahsoka. There's some new series coming out this year, like the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew and things like that from the Star Wars world that we'll see. I'll probably still watch them, but I can't sit here and say I'm excited for them with any honesty behind it.
Nope.
And same for the MCU. Like I'll watch Echo, and if it's good, you know, I'll say that it's good, but I'm not necessarily excited for it. I'm also not excited for Agatha Coven of Chaos or whatever it's called. The,
Oh my God,
the WandaVision
0%.
spinoff with Agatha that's supposed to come on
Unless
this year too. So, like
unless it's like Legion, the Legion show, which was crazy, and if they do that kind of thing, that could be fun. But if it's not like that, I mean, it has Aubrey Plaza, so she was in both.
I want to stand
Yeah.
up for Ahsoka real quick. That show was awesome. I just want to
you
get
were
in
an
here.
Ahsoka fan?
Yeah, I just want to get in here real quick before we go too far, and I put on my boxing gloves and go to bat for Ahsoka real
Fair
quick.
enough, man. It was pretty
Um,
good. Not my
It had
favorite.
space magic. It had witches. Ray Stevenson as the Sith Lord was awesome.
Was
He had
awesome.
such an awesome, intimidating presence. His Padawan's cool to see a Sith Padawan who's like teetering on the side of like, should I make good decisions? You don't get to see that too often. She's thinking about it but not doing it. I would watch Ahsoka again. I'd watch that whole season again.
It had parts of it that I liked, but overall, I was like, again, I thought that was mid, and so it's made me just, I don't know. I just have Star Wars and MCU. This is stuff I'm probably gonna watch. I'm just kind of down on it in general, and so they're not true dishonorable mentions, but more of like cautiously pessimistic, I guess, instead of cautiously optimistic. I did say my XX here in my notes. I'm saying excluding X-Men 97 because I am kind of excited for that.
Yeah. That could be good.
Johan, take us into our most anticipated video games.
As the game master extraordinaire, I shall. My top three most anticipated games for 2024. I'm going to start with number 3. Hades 2. I don't know if you guys got down on the Hades action, but Hades is a top-down action platform kind of game. I don't know platform. What was it called? A twin stick shooter.
Roguelike.
It's a roguelike. It's a roguelike. Yeah,
Top-down roguelike.
I played a
twin
little
stick
bit of
shooter.
Hades. This is not my genre, but I played a little bit of Hades, and Hades is the one that I would play of that genre. Like
Hades
it was
is
really
one of the
fun.
best to ever do it. And so Hades 2,
that's
I've been
fair to
waiting.
say. It's the one. It's the apex of the genre. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good.
I mean, the bosses are gods, and like your powers are gifted by gods, and you have all these cool things you can do. That game stayed fresh for a long time for me. It was very fun. I'm excited for
Stayed
Hades
fresh
2.
literally for a whole year, right? It came out, was hot for a whole year, then released for Switch and was hot for a whole other year.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I game weird. I like games like some games have really good stories and they're fun. You play through them and then they're done, right? Like Spider-Man, great game, fantastic. You play it, you kill it, it's over. I also have a lot of love for these games that you could just play for like ever, that have this longevity built in, and so Hades 2 is one of those. My number 2 most anticipated game, Dragon's Dogma 2. It's a RPG, much in the style of Baldur's Gate. It is the sequel to Dragon's Dogma. It looks very cool. They have a lot of interesting mechanics in Dragon's Dogma that a lot of other RPGs don't have, like being able to jump on big beasts and hit weak points and that kind of stuff. It just looks like another awesome fantasy RPG, and that's kind of my shtick. So
This is crazy. I played Dragon's Dogma and beat it and have no recollection whatsoever. None of these screenshots look familiar at all. Looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I bought it. I played it. I remember nothing. Nothing is coming back. I know that this series is really regarded really highly by its fans. Is it Capcom? It's a Japanese company making a Western RPG. So it's a really interesting take on Western RPGs from an Eastern take. So it's something for JRPG fans to enjoy and classic fans of Western RPGs. Dragon's Dogma sits in a really neat place where its fans love it, but everyone else is like, "What is this? You know, what the hell is
And
this?"
that's kind
game?
of why I'm excited, because it's kind of it's a fresh take on a genre that I love so much, and so I'm excited to see what they do with it here. Especially after Baldur's Gate 3, are they gonna like step up to the plate, or
Man, so I think you've still got to wait a few years for people to catch up there.
probably?
They got surprised. Everyone was surprised. So it's going to take people a few years to get to that level. We have a few RPGs that are going to come out that aren't going to be Baldur's Gate for a little while.
Yeah. My number one is gonna make everyone go to sleep. I'm sorry. I game different than you guys. Frostpunk 2. Frostpunk was one of the best city builder games ever. It is a survival city building game where it's post-apocalyptic. It's much like in the world of Snowpiercer. It's like way too cold. It's impossible to survive. You have to make this city. You have to survive these blizzards and stuff. And you have to create a society, essentially. I remember in order to survive, I had to rely on fascism and propaganda. It was a whole thing. Frostpunk 2 is the sequel to this game. It is going to be an amazing city builder, and I can't wait to play it. It's a city builder. City builders are fun. SimCity's great. You know, City Skylines is great. This is one that like is constantly trying to kill you. It's trying to end your game, which is unique in city builders for the most part. I'm sure it's not everyone's genre, but this is a one I've been waiting for many, many years. So I'm excited for this.
I really tried to get into Frostpunk when it came out, and it just never clicked for me. But for all the reasons that you love it are the reasons I didn't. You're constantly dealing with water and hunger and not fear, but like people
temperature, riots, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Just so many bars to manage. That someone like me, I like a city builder game, but I do like it to be a little more friendly, a little more relaxed with some nice music in the background where you can make mistakes, but for the most part, if you think your decisions through, you'll be fine. Games like this, it doesn't matter if you think your decisions through in Frostpunk 2 because it's going to kill you anyways. Everything you do, it's going to try to kill you. Like Jahan said, you'll be running out of food even if you've got your warmth problem solved. That doesn't matter. But, you know, people will still be eating each other.
Or like a plague will come out of nowhere, or your food will be solved, and someone will steal from your food stores, and you have to exile them, and it's a whole thing, man.
For that reason, no. I'd respect that this is on your list, but I do prefer a traditional city builder over something just so unforgiving.
I really enjoy challenge in my games. I'm a glutton for punishment. One of my favorite games is XCOM, which is brutal. And so,
XCOM, 95% chance to hit. Miss.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I started a play of XCOM Enemy Within, so I'm excited. But yeah, that's it for me for games. Those are my three. Sorry. Those are my three.
No, man, those are good. Those are good picks for you.
Okay.
I'm about to take this in a totally different direction.
Of course.
Get ready, because my number 3 on my list, this is almost... No, you know what? No, it's not embarrassing. I'm going to own this. My number 3 is Princess Peach Showtime.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
This is the...
What?
Oh. What was that, Gary?
It's a good reaction.
Are you wowed by my pick?
No, he said, what?
What? What is it?
Yeah. This is
No,
Princess Peach
not
Showtime.
What? What is it?
It is.
That's not a yes or no question.
An upcoming action-adventure game coming out in March. The first game to feature Princess Peach as the main protagonist since Super Princess Peach in 2005. And I know some of you may be laughing. Here's the thing. Game looks super fun.
It does.
And I'm down for Peach getting different outfits and that changing her profession, getting to do different things, kind of Kirby-esque, except you're Peach. I am pro giving Princess Peach the stage that she deserves. This is super stylized, looks super fun. She could be a pirate. She could be a cook. She could be like
What?
she could be like
A
a
woman can be a
taekwondo
cook? That's
champion.
crazy.
Oh yeah,
What an
she. Oh, okay. Oh,
what an
Here, she
amazing
could-
opportunity.
She could be a detective. She can do kung fu. She can do it all. I think this looks super silly and super fun. And honestly, and this really is showing this. As far as the upcoming games coming out, I was having trouble really getting excited about a lot of them when I was looking through the upcoming list. And this was one that I thought would be fun to discuss. So Princess Peach, Showtime.
See, I
It's
don't
my
disagree
number
with you at
3.
all. I actually think I'm excited that Princess Peach is finally getting her own mechanic. You know, like how they gave Luigi his ghost busting, and that was really cool that he had his thing, and it's cool that she's getting a thing now. It does look highly styled. I'm willing to play it for sure, and it might be really cool.
The style of everything looking like it's taking place as a stage play, I think, is really cool.
I like that too.
And really original. My fear with this game is similar to something like the Yoshi franchise that's on Switch. Is it's like that's a franchise that's really geared towards younger kids. It's an easier game
Yes,
in general.
but-
There can be some challenge to it, but
I played the Yoshi Yarn World or whatever it's called. Yoshi's Craft.
Woolly something
Like that. I played that with Jen, and we had a blast. It was a fun co-op experience. So, like, I don't know, man.
It's
It
a
could be
super
cool.
fun game. There is challenge to finding everything in it, but if you're just like rolling through, it's relatively easy. I hope
Fair.
that Princess Peach Showtime has a level of challenge to it, is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I could see that.
Number 2 is Star Wars Outlaws, and I feel like not too much needs to be said about that. This is the big open world Ubisoft Star Wars game that looks extremely fun. It looks to be the Star Wars game that I've been wanting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Star Wars Outlaws. And my number 1 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is the sequel, or part 2 of the Final Fantasy VII remake, from the ground up remake on the PS5, and the first part was great, and I'm looking forward to more of it. And that's my number 1.
I've always felt like it was a shortcoming of mine that I'm not into Final Fantasy. I just can't do it, man. Like, I liked them on the Super Nintendo a lot. It was great, but I just, ever since the PlayStation, I never had them on PlayStation, and I was just never able to get into them later in life.
My exposure to Final Fantasy came through Kingdom Hearts, actually. I really didn't play a lot of Final
Kingdom Hearts is
Fantasy. Then I played a little bit of Final Fantasy like 10 right around the Kingdom Hearts time, and that was it. I mean, I didn't beat the whole thing. It's one of those things, it's definitely for Final Fantasy people. They love it. They love their genre and their series, and it is just sort of stands alone in its own universe. I think it's one of those things that we will look back on when we are old men, maybe 30 years from now, if we're still alive and kicking, how this will be something that they'll be milking at every turn. How they can make more Final Fantasy movies and shows and kids shows and spin-offs. It's another one of those worlds that's ripe for the picking. It's been around
Final
for
Fantasy
so long.
35? Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
It'll be around. It'll always be around.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, I like what they've done with some of the newer games where, like, it's not... Because, like, the turn-based is fun, but I like how they've evolved it into, like, you're running around, doing your moves, and, like, it's kind of transformed. Those games look a lot more fun to me. I just haven't given them a shot yet.
Yeah, each Final Fantasy game, they changed the combat system so it's not all samey, and a lot of the more recent ones have become more action titles than they used to be. Final Fantasy VII Remake is worth noting because Final Fantasy VII, the original, one of the most classic turn-based RPGs, out there, like beloved, but it is a true blue turn-based RPG, and this reimagining, the remake, is more of an action franchise.
Fair.
So it doesn't.
Maybe it is.
It doesn't
cool,
do all the same turn-based things. So I just like how the franchise is evolving with the times, even though it's based on very traditional gameplay. And like I loved 16 last year. It was a great story, great gameplay. So I'm looking forward to more.
That's the one I think looked really cool to me. I don't want to drag it out too much, but The remake I would really like to see from that era is Legend of the Dragoon. I think that would be cool. Would you be there too? Would you be in that one?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that one that would be a sick. I don't know why they haven't done it yet. There's a demand, but hey, we'll see.
Let me get in here with my 3 games real quick.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was surprised that I only found basically 2. This is not a real hot video game year for me. I found enough shows where I could have made my list twice as long, but not a lot of games. I'm hoping that there's some sleeper hits, things like the finals and things like, season 8 of Battlefield or whatever. Games that are already in service that continue to pick up my time. I like multiplayer games like that, and I didn't see anything on the horizon. I even looked into it, and we shouldn't even get another Battlefield until 26, I think. We'll get trailers in 25 for a game in 26, and that's a maybe. So nothing really coming out on the horizon for me for great multiplayer games. So in my number 3 slot is the Suicide Squad if Game Pass. I'm not going to buy the Suicide Squad, kill the Justice League or whatever. I know the reviews are not coming in too hot, but I was never excited for this game. But if it's on Game Pass, then I will be excited for it. I'll tell you guys to download it, and then we'll play it.
Yeah.
I'll immediately be excited if it's free. Oh, well, quote, free on Game Pass.
I'm down for a free 4-player co-op game where you get to shoot superheroes. It's cool.
Yeah, dude, I'll go be King Shark and eat people. I want to do that. I just don't really want to pay extra money to do it at this
I'm not
point.
paying $70 for this piece of crap.
Definitely not paying $70 for it. No, but if it comes on Game Pass, now you've got my attention. My number 2, Star Wars Outlaws, also Drew's number 2. This game, I mean, we can't say a lot because we don't know a lot. We've seen some really good looking gameplay. We've seen some really good looking cinematic trailers. But it appears to be the kind of game that you can play like you want. If you want to sneak around and hide behind cover, you can do that. If you want to go in gun blazing, looks like you could probably do that. Looks like you've got a cute little creature. You could probably have a droid as an ally. It looks like you get a badass ship to customize and fly around in space. But I haven't seen any like space travel-y stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a loading screen. It doesn't look like they're trying to focus on space combat so much as cool Star Wars worlds and adventures. So I'm cool with that. They've got Rogue Squadron. If you want to go fly ships, that's where you can do that. If you want to have ship battles, go do it over there. My number 1 most anticipated, Warhammer Space Marine 2. Basically, just in a nutshell, it's Gears of War except Space Marines. It is
versus Tyranids.
Multiplayer, and it's co-op, and you're Space Marines, and you're shooting up Tyranids, and you're on giant, awesome, ancient
It's
Warhammer
multiplayer
planets.
Co-op? I did not know this.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
It's
on my list now too, buddy.
I read that it was multiplayer co-op. I didn't go around confirming it. I just read it in one spot. So let me tell you guys. I'll let you guys know that now. If it's not, don't kill me. But it said it was at the site that I read it. And it looks amazing. It visually is a very good, polished, fantastic looking game. So for Warhammer fans, I know that Space Marine, the first one, was actually really well received, but a sleeper hit. Non-Warhammer people didn't play it because Warhammer games are usually pretty bad for the most part. They're not very good. But they are becoming good, and they're becoming better with time, and they're getting more money, and this universe is starting to get tapped into the movie market and the video game market. It's about to suck all the money out of this, but we are about to get a bunch of good Warhammer stuff for the next 10 years, I think. More than that. The hobby's going to blow up. The name's going to blow up. It'll be a household name. Everybody's going to watch Warhammer and know about Warhammer. Mark my words. People are going to know the names of the Chaos Gods in less than 5 years.
Oh no! Once they know them, they become them. No, I'm just kidding.
To expand on that, Gary, it is really interesting the way the culture's changed and what they're accepting of. Because back in the day, like when we were in high school, junior high school, it was like you could be a nerd to a degree, but like if you played Dungeons and Dragons, whatever, that was like low tier. You
crossed the line.
Yes,
if you were in the Warhammer store and people were like seeing movies and they saw you in the Warhammer store like every weekend, you would be the nerd. You would be and that was not a good thing back then.
And now D&D has just had this incredible gain of popularity late now and has become cool to like D&D. And it's really been interesting to watch that happen as people that were into it or followed it before it was cool. But with things like Stranger Things and even the most recent Dungeons and Dragons movie, and now Baldur's Gate 3. Like, you're seeing, and of course, what's the podcast series everybody listens? Critical Role.
Critical
Like,
Role.
has brought a lot of popularity
Vox
to it too.
Machina,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, you're seeing the mainstreamification of D&D and tabletop games.
And
now
D&D is really hard to mainstreamify because so many people homebrew stuff. Like Critical Role, they made up all
Right.
their own gods and all their own towns, but it's still mainstream. They still did it. And to your point, I know you're just about to talk about Warhammer. It's not as homebrew, They have lore, they have
They have
planets.
rigid
There
lore,
are
yeah.
Yeah, so this is going to be something like, I think, Lord of the Rings level type stuff where people are going to get into it and start studying the lexicons, and people are going to get really into Warhammer, I think, in the next decade.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, is Warhammer next in line for that
Yes.
same mainstreamification where
100%.
it's becoming more cool to paint miniatures now, and it's becoming cool to follow the lore of it and to play the game and to see
It's
it
cool.
expanded into movies and TV and video games.
In this era, in this day that we are alive, it's not as cool to play games online as it was. It was really cool. It hit its height. Now it's cool to go to conventions and to go to game stores and play in person again. That stuff is becoming cool again. The human element is becoming cool. So yeah, I think the whole hobby's going to pick up, from the art aspect to the actual conventions to just shows and movies. I think Warhammer's going to pick up on all fronts. I think if I were an investor, I would buy stock in Games Workshop now because I don't think it's going anywhere for the next 10 or 20 years except up and up and up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we should do this conversation more on the fresh out the box stuff and talk about the mainstreaming of D&D and Warhammer, because Warhammer, yeah, I agree completely. It's definitely going mainstream, which is something I never thought possible. Because, like, man, I've been a D&D, Warhammer, Magic the Gathering nerd since, like, early middle school, Magic the Gathering, elementary school. Like, it was never cool. I never thought anyone would like this stuff. I never thought that it would be in movies and stuff. But hey, here we are. Henry Cavill is going to be in a Warhammer television show, and it's a very exciting day to be a nerd, I think. It's a great time. And yeah.
It all started when Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies came out and comics became cool. Then nerddom, it just opened the door, because once comics were cool, everything was cool.
Once comics were cool, yeah, it was kind of a snowball, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because comic guys were, like Drew was saying, there were different levels of nerds. D&D guys were lower than comic book guys. It was okay if you were a comic guy. It was barely okay, but it was okay.
No one.
But if you were a guy that wore a cloak to a comic book store and screamed about how you were a vampire back in like 2001, that was not cool back then. It's cool now.
I don't know if it's cool now, but
Oh, it's cool.
The war gamers were always the very low of the nerd spectrum. They were always the fringe people, and they were always the ones that freaked people out. And I was one of them. Hey.
So that's to the point. That's Warhammer Space Marine 2.
I'm excited. I'm excited to play. I didn't know it was co-op. I'm excited to play that with you, dude.
Yeah, man.
I have some honorable mentions. One of my Star Wars Outlaws. I didn't put it up there because, like, I don't want to get too excited for it. Although I am somewhat confident this is going to be my top 3 best games of the year. It might be my number 1 at the end of the year. I can see that happening, absolutely. It's just, it is what it is.
Warhammer Space Marine 2 is going to be 3-player co-op. It was revealed on June 8th by the developer Focus Entertainment.
Hell yeah. Drew, you can get in on this with us. You can be a nerd. My other honorable mention is another deep cut of nerd pie. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Vampire the Masquerade is a tabletop role-playing game. Back in the early 2000s, it got a computer game that was an RPG in which you are a vampire, and it used the full Vampire the Masquerade system, just like how Baldur's Gate uses the Dungeons and Dragons system. And this is a sequel of it, and it's been delayed, and it's finally coming out this year, and it looks phenomenal. The reason it's on my honorable mentions and on my list proper is because it's already been delayed. So I'm a little worried about it. But if this game comes out, it'll probably also be on my top 3 of the year list. It might be the best RPG that dropped this year. It's gonna be cool. I even think you would enjoy it, Drew. Playing vampire is almost the opposite of playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's so different.
I've seen these games get discounted and such on the Xbox store, some of the past ones, but I've seen mixed reviews of those.
Yeah.
But this one has looked really promising, and I know there's been a lot of coverage about it as it gets nearer.
So it was actually really close to coming out a few years ago, and then a new developer took over, and they decided instead of polishing and releasing to rework the whole thing. Years ago, I was excited for Vampire 2, and it just poof vanished like a fart in the wind. It's cool that it's coming back, but I don't know what to expect this time around. And the vampire world is not well established. It can be sort of all over the place, so you don't particularly know what kind of story you're getting into.
I mean, their lore is pretty solid, but yeah, there's a lot of homebrew in it as well. They'll probably just stick with their canon, I'm sure. But it'll be... I'm excited to see it, man. I don't know if there's going to be other creatures in it, but we'll see. It's probably going to be mostly vampires, though.
Drew, do you have any honorable mentions to slam dunk on?
I have a couple. I put Avowed on here just because that's another Xbox exclusive release, and it's looked kind of interesting, but I just haven't seen enough to get truly excited to put it in my top list. Maybe that'll change next week because it'll be included in the Xbox Direct if I find out a little bit more, if it's going to be more like the Outer Worlds, what Obsidian did before, but it's in their Divinity 2 world, I think is what this is set in. Is that or Pillars of Eternity? What's the Obsidian game? Y'all
Pillars of Eternity, yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes place in that world.
It's either that or it's the other one you said.
Yeah, I don't know. One of those. I should do my research, but it's just a matter of how fast I can pull it up. Let's see. It takes place in the Pillars of Eternity world. But I think it's supposed to play more like an Outer Worlds, if I understand correctly. I don't know. We'll see more next week. But I wanted to shout it out. Same for Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga.
They did Pillars of Eternity. Confirmed.
Yeah, it's the Hellblade 2, the sequel to Hellblade Senua's Saga. Has looked amazing visually from what they've shown. But I just still am kind of curious, like, if it's just going to play like the first one, I will definitely play it. But if they expand it and make it almost more like open world, God of War type storytelling, but with this incredible visuals and story, I don't know.
The first one was so good.
It was, but it was also short and, yeah. So that's why it's on my honorable mentions. And then I have a little bit of a cheat code here for my honorable mentions. Nintendo's supposed to announce their new console this year, and I'm really excited for that. Like,
wasn't until I heard rumors that it might be a dual screen Switch. That could be really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, people are just kind of saying casually the Switch 2, but it's whatever the successor to the Switch will be. And, I just always have faith in Nintendo. And I've really enjoyed playing my Switch more in the past year than I probably have in a while. And so it has me more excited for it. And that's older tech, and it's still holding up pretty well. So whatever they do, updated Nintendo console, I'm here for it. So I just wanted to shout out that we should get a new Nintendo console unveiled this year.
I always say I love the gimmicks. I love Nintendo's gimmicks. They're always doing something silly, whether it works or not. I love that they're trying. PlayStation and Xbox is just a PC that you plug into your TV. They're not doing a gimmick. They're not trying. They're not trying at all. Nintendo, they are literally pushing the edge, the bounds, the barrier of what gaming can be and how they can imagine it to be. They're doing really fun stuff over there with their hardware.
Yeah, man, if it wasn't for the Switch, I don't think we would have had the Steam Deck. You know what I mean? Like, people realized that they wanted a handheld like that, and it was a whole thing. Yeah, that and the DS, I feel, were their two biggest swings and biggest successes, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I still play my Switch. I just bought Mario RPG the other day, so...
Oh, nice. So good. I really enjoyed my time with it.
I'm glad you did. That makes me feel validated. What about your dishonorable mentions that you put again, Drew?
I put Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League on my dishonorable mentions.
Fair.
it was on my most anticipated last year. Then it didn't come out last year. We really saw it in depth and it didn't look good. It's gotten pushed to this year. It's now coming out in just under a month. And I was still kind of excited. I'm like, oh, maybe they've made it come together. However, IGN just published a preview of it today, and the title of their preview is Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League preview. We played it and didn't like it. It's literally the title of their preview. And I watched the video. I watched the whole thing. And it looks good, and they do complement the story and the visuals of like the cutscenes and everything, but the gameplay itself just pulls from all the other live service games, and seemed like it left something to be desired, like your typical defend this point from hordes of enemies and so on and so forth, and things that get super repetitive. They did say in their preview, they didn't get to mess around with builds as much as they wanted to, so that could provide some fun to be had, but they were pretty disappointed with it, which makes me scared for a game that I was already kind of nervous for. So yeah. As much as I want to experience the story, and I've loved past Rocksteady games, I'm also going to be very hesitant to spend $70 on this game if the gameplay's not there, even if the storyline is good. So this might be a wait for it to be on a certain Xbox focused.
It'll probably be half off in 3 months.
I'm still mad I paid half price for Gotham Knights, and I played it for an hour, and it was not for me, and I should have waited till it was on Game Pass.
I think we told you that when it came out, that you shouldn't buy it for half price.
I think you both did. So
yeah.
I have no.
Yeah, then you bought it, and we were like, wow, I guess Drew doesn't give a shit what we think.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done that. So I'm thinking the same thing for Suicide Squad. Is it worth $30? Maybe. It's probably worth... was Gotham Knights worth $30? No.
Gotham
Squad's
Knights
probably worth $15 or $10. So if it's on Game Pass, great, and if it's not, Dishonorable Mention's the right spot for it.
I'd rather let
a
stranger lick my face than play Gotham Knights again.
I can arrange that. Let's talk about our fresh picks of the week, fellas, and get the hell out of here.
Hell yeah, man. My fresh pick of the week is a game that's free on Game Pass. Hell Let Loose. Me and Gary played this. It is not so much a World War II first-person shooter as it is a World War II simulator, where they get a lot more into the weeds about logistics. Your role, like your class you pick, there's a lot of them to pick. And there are specific kinds of squads. There's infantry squads, armored squads, recon squads, and classes are specific. You have commanders in your units. You have officers. There's an overarching commander of the whole battlefield that can see the map and distribute supplies and stuff, set up outposts to spawn at, that kind of thing. Give people tanks. And the only people that can talk to him are the officers of each squad. So there's a chain. There's an actual chain of command in this game.
You hold left bumper to switch the different chat channels. So you can switch to talk to commander only or talk to your squad.
It's pretty intuitive. It's pretty streamlined. I was impressed by how easy it is to switch in the talk channels. And then on top of all that, there's no hit markers when you shoot people. You can't tell if you're actually hitting anybody. You have to be like, oh, he went down. Okay, cool. There's no game stuff like that. They're going for realism in this game. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it is free on Game Pass. It's 6-player squads. Get your friends. It is free. Go check it out. Give it a chance. Learn it.
It is hard. This is not for your Call of Duty friends. It's more for your Battlefield friends. It's for people who want to work together as squads or fail. It's World War II, and it's hard. There are trenches, there's tree coverage. Yeah. You'll get shot from God knows where. The camera doesn't show you who shot you. Or
there's no Billy Badasses in this game. Yeah, there's no Billy Badasses. It is a desperate survival through warfare. It's pretty fun. It's a unique experience. It's the closest you can get to real war, I think. So
it's the answer to my question of who's going to shake Battlefield. No one's trying. No one's doing tanks and jets and soldiers and destructible, and no one's doing it. It's only Battlefield. And so I was asking myself and my wife last week, who's going to shake this? Who's going to upset this finally and push it over? And sure enough, I think Hell Let Loose has the wheels to do it. It definitely feels more like Battlefield 1943. It feels old. It feels like a dated game.
Does feel a little
It feels like it was made by an indie studio, but all the things it does right, it does them great. It does a lot of things right and very well. And I could see Hell Let Loose maybe in a few years being one of those games that people are looking forward to part 2, part 3, part 4, and mixing up the timeline and see what else they're going to do with Hell Let Loose. I could see it sticking around. It has some staying power.
I hope
it's
it does,
really a cool game.
because it is. They did something here, man. They did something here. Definitely my fresh pick of the week, though, for sure.
Great fresh pick, John.
Hey, thanks,
My fresh pick of the week. I've got 1.5. I'm back on Netflix doing the Netflix thing, so I finally watched Russian Doll. That's my fresh pick of the week. If you were a fan of Poker Face, I was a huge fan of Poker Face. It's basically like more of that, except caught in a Groundhog Day loop. It's Natasha Lyonne. She is fantastic. I think it's also co-written by Amy Poehler, and it's
Did not
on
know
Netflix.
that.
There are 2
Hans
seasons.
talked about that show before.
Yes.
I think when season 2
did.
It came out a while ago.
I-
I wasn't so hot on season 2. Season 1, however, is fantastic.
I immediately texted him and was like, I'm watching Russian Doll. This is awesome. It is. If you haven't watched Russian Doll, you should. It's a really easy watch. I think there are 6 or 7 episodes. Totally binge worthy. It's one of those ones where you could watch it in a weekend. Big thumbs up for Russian Doll. My honorable mention on my fresh picks is Louder Milk, also on Netflix. I started watching Louder Milk. I'm like 3 or 4 or 5 episodes in already. It's totally binge worthy. The main character's name is Louder Milk. He is like an Alcoholics Anonymous counselor, and is just an insufferable dick. But he's helping these people, become better people, and helping basically anyone he comes across in his life, but still maintains to be a total smartass and a dickhead while doing it. So it is a feel-good show, and it's also a comedy, and it's also kind of got some really serious topics, but it's fun to watch. It's lighthearted. Will Sasso is his roommate, and Will Sasso is just totally lovable in this. It's good to see him again since Mad TV. It's great. It's a really fun show. I recommend at least checking out Louder Milk. You will know you can watch the trailer on Netflix, and you'll know if you want to watch it or not. He's a snarky, sarcastic asshole, and it is just a lot of fun. And that's it for my fresh picks.
For my fresh pick of the week, I chose a movie. I actually reviewed it over at Nerdtropolis, but it's called The Book of Clarence. Did either of you see a movie that came out on Netflix in 2021 called The Harder They Fall? It was a Western that had Idris Elba and Zazie Beetz.
I know what you're talking about. I
Virginia
never
King,
actually did
Lakeith
get around to
Stanfield.
watching that, though, unfortunately.
It's pretty good. It also had a guy in it who apparently his last name is Majors, but he doesn't exist anymore. There's a new movie by the same writer and director called The Book of Clarence, and it comes out in theaters this weekend. And it stars Lakeith Stanfield, but it has a super deep cast. And basically, what James Samuel did with The Harder They Fall, which is tell kind of a fun, cool hip hop Western told through a black lens, they do the same thing here, but for biblical epics. So instead, you have chariot races and gladiator battles, but there's also like drug hallucination scenes, because essentially Lakeith Stanfield is the equivalent of a pothead in biblical times. And but there's also like really serious religious revelation moments and things like that. But basically the gist of the plot is this is during the time of the rise of Jesus Christ as the Messiah, but Lakeith Stanfield's character doesn't believe in all that, says, it's just tricks, it's illusions, and decides to claim to be a Messiah as well, who's sent by God so that he can earn money and free himself of his own debts and such. And this
is out already?
It comes out this weekend in theaters.
Okay.
And it's a little bit tonally all over the place because, like I said, like you have action, you have comedic drug sequences, you have, it's a biblical epic. You have Jesus Christ appearing in this, again, all told through a black lens. Super, super deep cast of folks, but Lakeith Stanfield, who I've always talked about how much I like him. But like Omar Sy is in it, RJ Kyler, David Oyelowo, Alfre Woodard's in it, Tiana Taylor, Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things is in this, but there are James McAvoy and Benedict Cumberbatch appear in this movie as well in kind of fun roles. But like I said, it's a bit all over the place, but overall a super fun time at the movies with all that it's trying to accomplish. And yeah, so I recommend The Book of Clarence.
I've seen the previews and I've been wondering about it. I'm glad you liked it, so I'm definitely going to go see this. It looks really cool.
Definitely not for people who maybe take issue with like having some kind of fun and flexibility with biblical stories.
Yeah, it seems pretty sacrilegious, which is, it seems like it tackles some pretty complex things while also being sacrilegious, but also being religious in its own way, just sort of having a different perspective.
It comes across that way at first. You're like, oh my gosh. But then the way that it rounds things out by the end, I feel like they do manage to kind of find their way through it. I'll just put it that way. But I just thought it was cool. It had the classic intro from James Samuel, the director, like his face popped up on screen beforehand where he thanked the audience for showing up. But he basically was like, hey, I think it's fun to weave new fictional stories into existing narratives. And ultimately, I just want everybody to have a super dope time at the movies. And you know what? I had a super dope time at the movies, so I'm not complaining about it. And that's why I'm making it my fresh pick of the week.
Hell yeah, man. That's a good pick. I guess that's it for our fresh picks and for our 2024 most anticipated medias this year. Very excited to see how this year turns out. I'm glad I get to do all this with my friends. So, hey, thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for being here. Let us know what your most anticipated whatevers are all over any social media. We're all over the place. Check us out. I have been the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Johananan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Podcast and Fresh Out the Box. That's where we talk about talk about tabletop games, and we play tabletop games, and we have friends on, and we do all sorts of things. We laugh, we cry. We died on there. For real, we're dead. We all died.
Oh boy. Wow.
Yeah, dude, anything could happen. You could be there live when we die. But this is Fresh Out the Podcast. Tell your friends, movies, video games, shows. Okay, I love you. Thank you for the support. You guys are awesome.
And I am Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. And this has been episode 115, Fresh Out the Podcast. We'll catch y'all next week with a more standard episode of the show. But I've had fun with these past couple weeks of looking back and looking forward.
Stay fresh.